Good afternoon. Good afternoon, YouTubers and stock Twitters and other passerbys. I'm Bagadon at Stock Market Caddy, and you are looking at the Swing Machine Plus. Lots of noise out there today. There always is whenever there is a big market sell-off underway, and it's been underway. But there's always a lot of noise, news, and if you're trading that and trying to handicap that, we wish you the best. We really do. Let me know how that works out for you. Let me just give, and that is our proximity fuse that we are testing out, and this tells us, not just visual clues, but audible clues as to where we are and what we're doing. And we did have a little dry down this morning as we anticipated. We thought there was a really good chance that we were going to sell down here, and we're going to stay on this trade. And but let me show you. Here is let me get some things marked up. Bear with me. Here is the VIX getting short at 110. Here is the S&P getting short at 105. Here is the NQ getting short at 110. Here is the YM at 105. Here is the Russell at 835. Here is gold also selling down at 840. And here is oil, oddly enough, seems a little odd, also selling down. And here we are. Let's we'll annotate this. That's our dive. And we'll again mark this up. This is where we are. So we did have a little drawdown. We were playing for the sell-off, and but we've more than made that up. We're confident that we would. We're very much within striking distance. And let me see. We'll get that. If you have any questions on what it is we're doing, feel free. You can plug in any market. Have any questions on what you're doing, feel free. If you're getting it done with whatever you're doing, keep doing it. If you're not, you might want to reconsider and get an education someplace. We'll be here. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bagadon, and this is Stock Market Caddy doing what we do each and every day. Some days pretty boring, some days pretty, I don't know what I want to call it, but it is what it is. And we, try not to, or here we're mechanical robotic traders. We're not trading or trying to keep up with the news of the day, and God knows there's plenty of that to go around. And as you can see on Swing Machine, the last trades here that you're seeing at 110 this afternoon, the VIX on the 5-minute pops off again, right? It's like, the thunderstorms in Tampa Bay. And we got some coming in today. Hopefully they're going to come through with not too much trouble. But at 105, the market, the S&P turned down at 105. At 110, the NASDAQ turned down, and we're on that. We were on it earlier, and we're going to stay with it. By the way, you may hear our Iuga sound. It's not your computer. Don't go crazy with that. We're testing out some alert systems. There it is. There's the Iuga. It's a little proximity fuse that we wanted to test out. Seems to be doing its thing. And just lets us know if you happen to be busy doing other things, or you're in another part of your house or your office and you want to be alerted to something that might be happening, whether it be from Swing Machine or from the Trade Tracer or whatever. We can build in alerts. I don't use a lot of alerts. Susan does. You can have these alerts going to your email and in turn going to your phone. The specific reason why we're running this alert today is that it is a proximity. It's letting us know that we're in the neighborhood of something important. So that's what that is. And I'll just leave it at that. Any questions, let us know. We'll let you watch and listen. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Not a well, it's a dark Thursday, right? And to say the least, oops, I don't know if you can hear that or not. We're testing out a little something we call proximity fuse. You see the visual cue there, and that's an alarm that we built in, and I can hear in my headphones the IUGA. But this is a dark Thursday and very bad action, not unexpected. We said to all of our members last night and to our monthly members that the market appeared to be being fed with liquidity. We've seen this sort of thing before. Something captures the imagination of the public, a world event, and out of nowhere, there seems to be a flood of liquidity come into the market. And it's kind of like, turning the alligator over on its back and rubbing its belly. But at some point, the alligator, starts to thrash about and become an alligator. You can only do that for so long. And usually it's only a matter of days. So liquidity can massage a market, no question about it. But if the concern is real, which I think it is, I mean, for the love of Pete, right? And that's what we've been saying. We were saying something like this. This is comparable, right? So this is also one of the reasons why, we say it takes probably 10 to 15. I should turn down my IUGA. Let me see if I can um, turn down my speakers. There we go. So I don't have my headphones going off. I think you guys can still hear me. It takes about maybe 10 to 15 trades. That's all to get pretty comfortable with a trading approach. Now, it's going to take many more than that to really hone it, but probably 10 to 15. But to get really comfortable with a stock market, what it's capable of doing one way or the other, probably takes a good 5 or 6 years. I'm not saying that it takes 5 or 6 years to become a trader, but I am saying it does take a good 5 or 6 years, because there are things that you need to see and experience. And I can tell stories about it, and someone else can tell stories about it, but until you've lived it and breathed it, you may not recall those stories. You may not appreciate them. So we've seen this sort of thing before. The most recent episode was COVID, right? COVID. In January, when we told these stories to all of our members and to everybody, even online within the sound of our voice, in January, early January, we knew that there was a market issue. And that there was, carbon monoxide from bodies being burned in China, and that this thing, and yet the market just kept running and running and running. Like, what in the world, right? It just doesn't make any sense. And then suddenly, around the second, third week of February, our systems light up like they've lit up now. And then the next thing 3 weeks later, we're down 30%. Now, I'm not saying we're going down 30%. Truth of the matter is, I don't know. We might even go down worse than that. But I think the last few days, if you've been scratching your head what this is, I think it's just been a flush of liquidity trying to calm the markets, solve them to the point where they can only do it for so long. And where we are, I will share this with you. It's a Thursday, right? Let's pull up the date. It's going to be very, very difficult, right? It's going to be very difficult to rally the markets going into this weekend. In bullish markets, many times the investor, the trader, they don't want to go into the weekend short. But when we have a bearish tone, and we have increasing VIX, and we have increasing concern, and we have headline risk, many times, doesn't happen often, and depending upon what that headline risk is, the market has a tendency to sell off on Fridays. They don't want to go into the weekend long. for fear that something might happen over the weekend that that they can't act to. They can't access their money, their stuff. So this is it's speaking to us loud and clear. And I'm not telling anybody, suggesting or otherwise advising anybody to do anything with their money. I'm just sharing with you real time what we expect. I think this will continue. I think it could accelerate into tomorrow's close. And if it does, today, right now, would have been the warning, the last warning for the crash that could come on Monday and Tuesday. Now, I'm not saying it's going to crash, 10, 20, whatever percent. But markets can do some crazy ass things. And there can be some crazy things occur as we're seeing around the world. And so, buckle up and be prepared. It's one of the reasons, the reasons why we do what we do. And we have liquidity, we have market access, and we have acquired skill, and we have tools. And this, just the nature of it. When the markets are going up and up and up, everybody is euphoric and, everything is right with the world. Even when we know in our heart of hearts, we know that there is risk, but nobody cares during those times. When we get into a situation like this, where the market is selling off, it does what it does, and then it's just the opposite. Everybody starts looking, then it must be what's happening in the Middle East. It must be that the Republicans can't find a speaker. It must be. It doesn't have to be any of those. It doesn't. I mean, we didn't have a speaker 2 or 3 days ago. We know what happened. I mean, that event, God-forsaken event, happened 5 or 6 days ago. Dare I say or ask the question? But I don't, right? I don't. I mean, I just trade what is what is in front of me. But it just might be that there's another shoe to drop. Maybe somebody knows something. I don't know. I don't know. I do know they got a hell of a lot more money than I got. The billionaire class. And I know that they got a lot more access to a lot more things than I got. And I know the Mark Cubans of the world and Bill Gates and everything else, despite everything that they might say publicly, they don't want to lose a dime. They will do everything they can to protect their ass and their assets. And I just have to track them. And that's what we're doing. But be aware, it's really no different. And while we have folks that are passing through, I do want you to know that probably starting next week, we will be doing an open podcast just about every day about noon. And but it's going to be by invite only. So if you haven't seen us or haven't had a chance to ask questions, that's what that's going to be about. So you can send us your email and say, hey, Don, can you invite me on such and such a day? And it'll be at noon each day. But we're getting very, very busy ourselves. And so we won't be doing these, which was what we've been doing much of the summer, these open YouTube sessions. It's just been a little too time consuming and it pulls on our resources, but we do want to be available for folks that pass through. We'll do it for about an hour. And so we can give you, at least a glimpse. For those that sign up as a monthly member, I just remind everybody, as a new monthly member, you do have the opportunity, if you want to avail yourself of it, to sign up for the Cook's Tour. We'll give you the Cook's Tour early one morning, and then you're welcome to hang out the rest of the day on whatever day that is, and see whatever it is you want to see, and we'll show you. So between the two, we're trying to make ourselves available on what will be these invite only midday podcasts invite. And then if you are a new monthly member, you let us know. We'll give you a hall pass for a full day, and to see what you can see. But it is what it is, folks. And so we're not going to add to it. We're going to let you watch what we're releasing, probably starting tonight, hopefully, maybe certainly tomorrow going into the weekend. You're seeing this this particular tool. It's very graphic, and it's what we call Trade Tracer. And it's with the idea, if you've ever watched the golf tournament on TV, they have something called the Shot Tracer, and it tracks the image, or even in the hockey game, they can track, where the puck has been. So it is only showing you where the puck has been. And but there is something to say about momentum. It's one of the few tools that can precede a change in price. We may even get a little bounce in here right now. You can see it just how sensitive it is. This is what we call trade ball. You can see the little cyan dots showing up. We're going to let this run out, though. We're not going to overly trade this. We got a big fat profit. We did a little dry down this morning. We had plenty of opportunity to capture some profits, but we felt pretty good that there was going to be a sell-off this afternoon. So we kind of let the earlier trades get bounced out, and but then got ourselves in position. So the Trade Tracer is tracking the price action in a very unique fashion, and we're going to be getting that tool out to our annual members that have told us that, one, they want it, or two, that they're in the beta group. It'll go out as a beta tool. It will also have the what we call these ball markers that you see in here, the ball markers. And you're occasionally seeing, you can't hear it, but you see this alert that's coming up, and we're testing out right now and today, and it worked pretty well, what we call a proximity fuse. So we're particularly interested when price not only crosses these ball markers, but gets within a certain level or a certain proximity of these important points, and that's what you're seeing here. So it's a visual alert, and it's also an audible. You can, at TradeStation, you can we can program any alert off of anything, right? So we can, it can be a cross, it can be a proximity, either above or below something that we want to know about. Helps us keep perspective. You can also set these alerts to send you an email, and therefore, if they can send you an email, there are some instructions that you can do, that you can have the email sent to your phone, text your phone. So you may have like an hourly signal, and let's just go look at this. I haven't let's just see. It had been long, right, for quite a few hours. Oops, I didn't mean to do that, but I did. Let's see on the hour. I haven't looked at the hour. So you can see the hourly, it had been long, but in the last 2 hours, the ES just rolling down now. So, and we've seen hourly signals. I'm not suggesting anybody take this hourly signal, but we have seen hourly signals last for 2 weeks. Entirely possible. You might want to write down on paper the ES on an hourly basis when short at 43.67. Next week, this thing breaks 4,000. You might look back and say, "Oh, man, had an opportunity." But on an hourly, the hourly signals, they don't come every day. They could be every few days, could be, a week or two. So you may not have the time that we have to watch and to monitor these things. So when this thing alerts, when it alerted at 2 o'clock, you could set an alert whereby, the alert would go to email and or to your phone. So we're all about maximizing, excuse me, maximizing our time and also our trading capital. Any questions, let us know. I'll pull up this little chart here, bring it to the fore. There we go. So it does look like we're going to get a little bounce here. We're gonna ride it out though. We got quite a bit of profit to play with here, so we will let it ride out. I've been trading it for the most part mechanically. For the most part, we did run a couple of little programs earlier. Any questions? Let us know. Enjoy the view. If you have any questions, you just let us know. We're going to let you watch the closeout. Could get very interesting, to say the least. Interesting day in the markets for sure. by the way, the Nicholas timing model, went long, which is a daily signaling service. It's an algo that we follow. It went long on the close on Friday, and even last night, it was up 20 some odd grand if one had put on each of the four markets. But we said last night to all of our members in our nightly video that despite the fact that Nicholas had been long, that if the market rallied this morning, that we thought, and we explained why and what we were seeing, that it could prove to be a very opportune time to sell into it, and that we could very well turn down. Now, I don't know, it's 2:30. We're not in the business of really forecasting per se. It's more of a nowcast. It's more tracking the money flow and being prepared to act and having the courage to act. And so we shall see. They can always pour in from any corners, and who is they? Who knows? I'm not. It doesn't much matter. Sometimes these hedge funds, they have to do what they have to do and pour in their own liquidity so that their overall positions don't get trashed, so they can come back at another time in place, and maybe when the public markets are closed, and act. Will they do that sort of thing? Absolutely. The markets need a marginal buyer. The marginal buyer is usually, he's the last one. And that marginal buyer and marginal seller is usually the retail. And, it shouldn't be that way, but it is. Hey, Dusk is asking us, and hello to you. How did I think, let me see. That's let me get the top chat. I don't understand why we get these like hearts or something on this YouTube thing. It's like it sometimes crops your question. How did I learn to trade? Well, I always had an interest, but long story short, we started in the markets in the early 80s when interest rates were 18, 19%. And Susie and I were newly married, and I started buying and followed the Investors Business Daily. I had the newspaper come into a driveway, believe it or not. There were they had about 200,000 subscribers. and um, we had IRA accounts, retirement accounts before we had all furniture. And that's true. Susan said to me, what the hell are you doing, Don? We don't have any furniture. We had a bedroom set, we had a dinette set. I said to Susie, I said, Susan, Susie and I had met in college. I said, Susan, we are going to be independent. We're going to have a beautiful life. We're going to do a lot of things. We're going to experience a lot. We're going to have a great time. We've had a great time, but we're going to be independent, and we're going to pay ourselves first. So I got started very young, very early. I started with the Investors Business Daily in a big way. I did the VectorVest deal, and I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. The biggest mistake I made was in the late 90s. Fortunately, it wasn't catastrophic, but we had done exceptionally well. And so we've been doing this a while, right? I'd gone through the crash of 87. There was a crash in 94. I think it was the Thai baht, if I'm not forgetting. There was the crash of 97. There was a crash in 97. And then, of course, there was the dot-com. The biggest mistake I made was knowing that we were in a bubble, and I knew I was in a bubble. I even said to Susie at the time, it's like, this is ridiculous. I knew it to be ridiculous. And we couldn't short the market. And I was trying desperately to try to get us out of harm's way. And I went to the so-called pros. That was a mistake. That was a big mistake. Went to a couple of people. If you're going to do that, I would suggest you get yourself a fiduciary. But I had the proverbial, broker. He's a VP at a big place. I'm not going to say where. And he was a former fighter pilot, hell of a nice guy. Had the big corner office, and he was a disaster. There was absolute disaster, and and I would ask him some questions, and a couple of times I should have been forewarned. He said to me one time on something which I won't get into, but he said, "You're too young." You're never too young. You're never too old. And I ultimately fired him. Fortunately, we survived him, but I can't say, I can't say that it was painful. But I was able to fire him in time, and right the ship, and keep moving forward. I fired him. I fired all of them, and then we sat down with Susan. Now I had been doing all the investment quasi. It was investing at that point. We didn't have the technology that we have today. We had, we only had, dial-up started what, 96, 97, maybe 98. So you didn't have high speed. We didn't have the information. You couldn't do what we're doing today back then. Trades, initially at one of the firms was $350 in and out, 350. And then when the discount brokers came out, it was still 89 or something, $90. And I bitched, and they're like, okay, well, we'll drop it to 150. I mean, button up your shirt, your heart's falling out. It was ridiculous. It was absurd. And they weren't even, we were making all the decisions. But that's where I cut my teeth. I still think they're okay, the IBD style, but there's some, I think there's some weaknesses. There were some weaknesses back then, and I still think there's some weaknesses, and but I don't do any of that anymore. What we sat down to do, and I had been doing much of that, Susan was not. And in the early 2000s, I sat down with Susan, and I just said, Susie, I think that this is ridiculous, and I don't believe in it. I don't trust any of it. I was become very cynical of them all, of Wall Street, of all of it. I used to call it faux or fake news, long before, Trump was calling it fake news. I used to call it faux news. And they're just a bunch of liars. The media is lying. The companies are lying. The markets lie. And Susan said, well, okay. We sat down, discussed it. And I said, Susie, I don't want to be in a position to have to suffer what we went through, or maybe suffer something worse. And she said, okay, well, what are we going to do? I said, well, we're going to put our heads together. Susan, I had spent at that point 20, 25 years teaching surgeons how to do surgery. Susan had worked for the likes of IBM and Lotus Software, was very good at math, very good at programming, and said, we're going to sit down and we're going to begin to write some programs. We got to find ourselves a good platform, and we need to, get, I got to listen very intently. We got a new puppy. I think she may have just woke up. I may have to come back and finish the story. That's one of the things about being programmed, but that's I guess, in a nutshell, where we started. And but the technology was there. What we needed was liquidity. We needed market access, and we needed an education as well. I also had a mentor. He is no longer alive. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. But I had a personal mentor that was very, very good and knowledgeable about the futures markets. And from there, we just committed tens of thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars. So it can be done, and I think we're living evidence of that. But there are others. We have had members that have blown us away, and but I can't promise anybody an outcome. I can't, and we don't. And I don't suggest everybody do this. I don't. We try to give you every opportunity before becoming a member or in a membership to take yourself out if you want to, before expending too much time or trouble. And if we can help somebody just reach that decision to say, hey, you know what? I don't really want to do this. It isn't for me. I don't want to do it. I want to, take a block of money and give it to somebody else to do it. And, have at it. It won't be us, right? Because we're not a hedge fund. We're not, soliciting funds to manage, and we don't make specific recommendations. But that's how we set out. And we could not do what we do, though, from a trading standpoint without TradeStation. The other platforms are fine and probably very, very good, but we couldn't do it without them. Their coding language enables us to build and you're looking at just a glimpse of some of the tools that we're building. I got to take a quick break. I'll be back. Again, we just got Ted. I got a 3-year-old Golden, and we just got Ted a little sister, and she's up and moving, and we gotta get a house broken. I'll be right back. Sorry. Sorry about that. And I got to tell you, I appreciate the question. I don't know if Dusk is still there. There were 3 or 4 people there, and they're gone. The biggest thing is that I can just say this is, I get this. Everybody who buys a set of golf clubs wants to go out and buy a set of golf clubs, take one lesson and start hitting the golf ball flush and breaking 80 every single time they go out. The likelihood of you doing that is slim and none. It's just not likely. It's not likely. And this is a game of probabilities, and it is a game, but it has to be learned and it has to be worked on. That's all. And so I can't promise an outcome. I wish I could. I can only show you how we approach it. I can make available the tools, but each person is going to have to practice, and each person is going to have to figure out, and maybe, part to do these little YouTube sessions, which again will be on by invite only, is to give you an inkling of what it looks like and what it's involved. If you're seeing this as a red light, green light system, that isn't what it is. Yeah. Dusk is asking, why don't we trade? Well, we do trade bonds on occasion, but we just don't get enough movement, right? They're price fixed. So the risk reward, and we have algos and programs that can tell us what to expect, and we're trading intraday, right? So we can trade bonds, but intraday, you just don't get enough. You're trading for a ticket too. So we just don't get the movement. But good question. So, I was just, staying with the golf analogy. You don't have to be a golfer, but, I know what everyone wants. You just want to be able to, I want that in my golf game too, to go out and just hit the golf ball flush. And I don't want to practice, and, I just want to get the clubs and go out and play. It doesn't work that way. I got to, practice the short game. I got to practice the long game. I've got to work at it, and it takes a lot of time. If I'm not, now if I'm just going out there to slap it around, and then I just go out and slap it around. But if I want to go out and have some fun and play competitively, for the little league that I've been in various ones, then I got to practice at it. Now, if you visit our website, we're going to enter, if you haven't, you might want to. The CME is running their own CME challenge starting on October 22nd. It's free to sign up. If you haven't signed up to the CME, you might want to. It's a good source of information about not treasuries. Well, you can trade treasury futures there too, but futures. And you should enter. You should try it and see a little bit of what it's about. You have to trade according to their rules, according to their markets, and according to their leverage. Everyone is on the same footing. We've done it 3 times before. The first time we did it, and it's all week. It's not just one day. It's anybody can have a good day, but it's an entire week, and it starts on a Sunday and it runs all night long, and it ends on a Friday at 1 o'clock. The first contest was 1,400 people. Going into the last day, we were number 10, and we finished 20. We were trying to win it because only the top 3 win money. And that's the difference in this contest, is the only way to make money is to be in the top 3. And we'd like to be in the top 3. Now, but we got to play by the same rules that everyone else does. And we got to play the same markets and the same leverage. So if anybody says, that's nonsense, it isn't. I mean, it's, I think, a very, very good test. And it's a week. It's a week long. The second time was 1,600 going in, and yes, I'm just doing it off the top of my head. It's on our website, but we were at 5 o'clock in the morning on the last day. We were number 2. We got that close to being in the top 3. And then unfortunately, and the other people are very, very good, probably some institutions, I'm not sure, or hedge funds. And we finished 7th out of 1,600. The last time there were 2,400. So it keeps growing. And going into the last day, Thursday afternoon, it was the Thursday afternoon like this, we were ranked 35. And I opted not to do any more trading to speak of, because I didn't think I could be in the top 3. And we ended up finishing 107. So we didn't have a shot to win it. So we didn't stay up around the clock but I said if we were in the top 10, I would stay up, 24 hours to try to win it. So we're going to try to do it again. And we're out to win it. I can't trade robotically there, though. I can't, I can't set the program to trade and, take the little pup out to pee on the lawn. I've got to shadow our systems here and then go into the CME site and trade there, which makes it a little clunkier. And they don't, and I wish they gave you credit, because we don't really trade that much, and I wish they, did a little bit more. I like the indices the most too. I did so many mistakes, but I'm right now sticking on one market. Well, the problem is, or the challenge is for everybody, and you have to just think about this in another endeavor. I don't want to come across as though, I'm, trying to sell you to trade futures or sell you to come to us. I'm not. But if you're out to learn something, you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what you don't know, and you're too stubborn, like me, I've been stubborn in my life on a number of things, you can waste a lot of time and a lot of money. And I can give you a kind of a silly example, and it really frustrated me. Fly fishing. I love the idea of fly fishing. And I said, how hard can that be? So I go to the Bass Pro Shops, I buy all the fishing gear, and I practice, and he shows me how. And Susie and I go on a whole bunch of different trips, mainly up to northern Georgia. And I never catch shit. Nothing. Not catching anything. And one day we're on the Toccoa River, and Susan's there reading a book on the side, and it's just another fly fishing, day. And I'm out there. It was beautiful to be out there, but I'm not catching anything. I've never caught anything. All right. And another guy gets out of his car, and he gets all suited up, and he comes into the river, a couple, maybe 150 yards from me, and he catches a trout. I'm like, what the fuck? And the next thing, he throws them back. The next thing you know, he catches another one, and he throws them back, and then he catches another one. Now I go from what the F to, God, this sucks. And I just kind of, I didn't storm out of the water, but I got out and I'm like, what the hell is that? He's like 100 yards from me. What's the hell is he doing? And this is like, well, why don't you go ask him? Well, I don't want to disturb the guy. He's in the middle of the river. I don't, And I ended up taking up a seat, beside Susan and watch them catch trout after trout after trout. I'm like, what in the hell? Long story short, I did go afterwards. He came out, turned out to be a very nice guy, and I went over and asked him, like, what the hell are you doing? And so he starts telling me some stuff. And one of the things he said, you need to get to the fly shop. You need to consider talking with a guide, hiring a guide. But, there were things like that I just didn't know. And to give you an example was the fly rod has a little loop at the bottom of the handle, right? Now I've fished other things before, right? But I didn't know. And here I had been fly fishing and trying to throw the fly. And if you know anything about fly fishing, you'll laugh at this because that little loop that's there by the handle is so that you can put the hook there when you are, out of the river and it's not flying around. Well, I fed the fly line through that loop. How stupid was that? So I couldn't even throw. Here I am going on trips and trying to throw the fly. I can't even throw the fly. So that was the first thing, is like, hey, knucklehead, he didn't call me a knucklehead, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And in part, and I did all that. And I guess because where it comes down to is if you have an interest in something and you want to learn, you have to be prepared, I think. And I'm talking about myself here, to kind of swallow your pride and to learn from, the fastest way is to find a mentor that you can learn from. You have to be open to do that. If you're not open to do that, you're going to take a bunch of trips and you're not going to catch any fish. You might even drown, And the thing of it is, I learned so much more after that, and it's just, being open to say, hey, you know what, there's some things here that I don't know. And there's still a ton of shit about fly fishing that I don't know. And quite frankly, when it comes to trading, there is still a ton of stuff that I don't know. I will arm wrestle any person here to say that I am the most ignorant person in this market. I need to be, I want to be, because I want to be able to move left and right. I need to be able to swallow my pride and get done what I need to get done. And not every day is a positive day, not all the time. But there's no crying in baseball. The market doesn't give a lick about my feelings. It doesn't care. It's brutal. And there's not many other endeavors in life that when you get it wrong, when you got a job to do, whatever that job is, maybe you're a salesman, maybe you make the sale or you don't make the sale, or maybe you're a pilot and you go from place to place. Maybe that isn't the best position, best place to say, because in that environment, you make a mistake there, it could kill you, right? A salesman doesn't make the sale. You know what? He's still going to get paid. He's not going to get paid as much. But here in the market, if you make the wrong decision, they're going to take money out of your pocket. And it hurts. It hurts, right? You have to get over the hurt. They don't care. Sorry, but they don't. They don't. There are other grown men and women. They're in Boston, they're in New York, they're in Chicago, they're on their yachts and off of Monte Carlo, they're in Tokyo, they're in London, and they don't give a shit whether or not I make money today or I don't make money. And then around this industry, which there's nobody more cynical, there is a slew and a cadre of stock pimps. They're asset gatherers. They're there to gather assets for their firms so that they can make money off of, well, they don't make money off of me because I don't use them. They did at one point. And I'm like, Susie, this broker, he's taking more goddamn trips than we are. Seemed like every other day he was like going to the Mediterranean, taking a trip, taking a trip. Yeah, you can hear a pup. Thanks for the questions. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the view of the market. I wish I could tell you, we spend 3 weeks, 3+ weeks, an hour or two a day trying to get exposed. Are you going to be the best trader you can be at the end of the 3 weeks? Probably not, right? You're not. Are you going to be better or be in a better position to understand? Yes. Yes, you are. Can you transfer it? Yes. But we talk about the 4 stages of learning. If you've never heard, you can look it up. The 4 stages: unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. It's all right. And if you don't have an interest, then you're not going to ever stop in here or even look at a stock. But if you have an interest, then you move into the stage where you are consciously incompetent. That means that is the stage where you realize that there is somebody doing something different than you. And you're like, huh, what is that son of a bitch doing? And then you have to make a decision, where most people today, they don't do that. And I understand that. And that's totally okay. We're not going to have thousands of people. They have to be prepared to say, I want to learn. I need a mentor. I want to learn. You can study the books, but it can take years and years, and they can be good books. They can be bad books. You can spend a whole lot of time, money, capital on wrong stuff. And, we're out to try to save you that time, because you can't, the old saying, you can't buy or sell time. Once it's gone, it's gone. And so what we're trying to do is make folks consciously competent. So, and then the last stage of learning anything is when you become unconsciously competent. You don't even have to think about what it is you're doing. You just do it, like brushing your teeth. I draw the comparison. We all learned how to drive. You first get in the car when you're brand new, you're excited. You get in that car, you're 16 years old, you're like me, you drive down to the beach and man, you look at me, roll the windows down, get the windows, look, and you're all excited. You probably remember that feeling. You remember, all the emotion of that and what you were doing, right? Today, probably when you get in the car and you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, I don't know if you're like me, sometimes I'm not even sure I can remember which way I came home. I don't think about it. I just drive. I just getting from point A to point B. So you have a lot of folks that, come into the market, into the stock. How hard can this be? How hard can it be to drive a car? And they're all excited. They got their 10, 20, 30,000. Maybe they got 100,000. Maybe they got 250,000. And they start, pushing things around. Oh, and they get all excited and they get all that emotion. And then suddenly things go helter-skelter. And then it sets into panic, you know. I'm down 5 grand, I'm down 50 grand, I'm down whatever. That's not the time to learn. Learn to drive the car before you get in it. Okay. All right. I've got to step aside, but I'm going to let you watch. Every quarter there is a and the CME. It hasn't been every quarter. No, it's not every quarter. This is only the 4th one they've ever done. There might be some private challenges. People can have some private challenges, but this is only the 4th one. I watched that. I mean, we're registered. I'd know. This is only the 4th one in, 3 or 4 years. They don't do it every quarter. folks who have come by before have heard much of this before. That's why we're going to probably, keep the podcast YouTubes that we'll do at midday. I mean, we might do a little 5-minute introduction about where the market is, and then move to a private status and be more. So you get 100,000. I saw you get 100,000 account. Big gamble and win this. I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm trying to read what you're saying. I don't know why. Maybe you guys do on YouTube. Well, I don't know. I get these hearts or these damn things and they block. I saw you get 100,000 account, but for sure some gamble big and win this by luck. No. No, I mean, if you're going to with the other folks, so for instance, the other folks that were in those trading challenges, they were very, very good, right? They were very, very good. They deserved to win. And on the last 24 hours, we were very focused on what I was doing. But I was also checking, because it isn't something that we have to do, but fortunately, day in and day out, I don't have to beat anybody. But in order to win that, I had to, pay attention to where we were and where they were. And I could literally tell, not only was I focused on what we were doing, but I could literally tell what they were doing. And they were very, very good. I was like, you little bastard. I could tell what markets they were in. I could tell if they were long or they were short. And they were very good. Some of them traded a tremendous amount. So it led me to believe that maybe they were going 24 hours from all the way through and had a group of people. What I would say is a couple of things. So you're not going to win. You're not going to win that with that many markets and with the leverage they give you on just one trade. What happens is at the beginning of the week, you'll have one or two people, they'll put all their leverage on like one thing and they'll play it long or short. And if they catch it right, they will go to the top. But by the end of the week, they will be gone. And that's what happens in real life too. You'll be gone. It just doesn't work, so if in your own trading life you're thinking, oh boy, when I get on it, boy, I'm going to get on it, when I get on that, I'm going to really hit it. If you're trading properly and trading responsibly, no one trade is going to make you rich and no one trade is going to take you out of the game. And the same is going to be if the competition was just a day, then, or even 2 days, then somebody could maybe get away with that. But a full week, it isn't going to happen. The traders will eat them alive. It just does, and they know that. They absolutely will. Also, too, well, I won't comment about. I mean, just enter it. It's free, and enter it. See how you do. And watch what the others do. I wish they gave some bonus points or some credit for trading less, but they don't, right? So now the other piece is, which we don't have time to go into and others had here, in golf, it's important to keep score, right? So you know what your handicap is, but when you're learning the game, you need to know how many greens do you hit? How many fairways do you hit? How many putts are you making? How many sand saves? Why do you need to know that? So you know what to work on to get better. In trading, you have to know how to keep score. 99.9% of everybody that we talk to has no idea how to keep score. Susan nods. Yeah. Everybody keeps score with the money. And if you keep score with the money, which is what 99.9% of all new retail traders do, and even the folks that have come and they go and they go and they come, you may not agree. You may have, rules written down on a legal pad or something, but those aren't really hard-coded rules. You are trading greed and fear. and you will lose. You will lose. Wall Street and Madison Avenue have got that figured out, and they know how to play you like you wouldn't believe. I don't like those people. I don't like anything about them. But, and if you're trading at that level, but the most important thing is about knowing how to keep score is knowing what you did right, what you did wrong, so that you can make improvement. But I do have empathy. We have had some folks maybe not succeed. Maybe they succeeded to the extent that they said, hey, this isn't for me. And I think that that is still a success. I don't think any education is wasted. I don't think any endeavor is wasted, even if the endeavor is to say, you know what, it isn't for me. And you go a different route, or you hire somebody, or you just do something different and go into real estate, whatever it is, or a small business. I don't think that's wasted. I had a member one time, and a very, very nice person. And, he described to me a fear. It wasn't just a fear or an anxiousness. It was a phobia. It was like being afraid of heights. He was afraid. He described it to me. He even said to me, Don, I don't understand it even. He goes, my wife even tells me, I'm not going to name him, but what are you afraid of? Why are you afraid? And he was afraid all the time. He finally, said, hey, came to grips with it. He couldn't get over it. And we certainly tried. And I finally got to the point, it's like, why do that to yourself? I don't like heights. Do I have a phobia? I don't like, I don't like heights. I don't. Susie and I took vacations out to British Columbia, would get above the tree lines, and I'd start breathing hard. I don't like it. I mean, when you come from Florida and you go in these mountains that are, 10,000 feet high, it's like, take your breath away. Therefore, it would not be a good idea that I take up flying. I don't like heights. And I have a phobia, and I don't want to do it. And we don't, I don't. And I even tell the story, there was another one that was reversed. And this is what can happen. You can psych yourself out. Susie and I got PADI certified to dive. And I spent much of my time diving. I enjoyed it a little bit. I enjoyed it. And somewhat, but I wasn't passionate about it. And I spent all my time watching Susan. She'd be looking at the bottom and, and loving it. She loved it, right? She loved it. I feel bad about this, but I spent all my time, under the water watching her. I don't know what I could do, what I thought I could do, but I was just never relaxed under the water. And then one day we went on a drift dive, and I think it was a certification dive, getting recertified. And we had to go down 100 feet off of West Palm. And long story short, we got down there, and there was what they call a thermocline, where we lost visibility. And I'm looking at a depth gauge, and I'm hanging on to Susan. She's hanging on to me. We can't see anybody around. The instructor was nothing, just the two of us. And even now thinking about it freaks me out. And I'm looking at the depth gauge, and I'm signaling to Susan, like, we're down as far as we're going. And next thing you know, we're standing on the bottom. So we couldn't have gone down any more than 100 feet. But it only took us a couple of minutes. We did a little pirouette. We couldn't see anything. And it's like, let's get out of here. So it took us time. We get up, and people bopping up all over the place. It was a horror show up on the boat. Nobody got hurt, but it was really a scene. I mean, we did fine. There was no panic or anything on the way up, but there were other people that did. And on the way home, it was like the next day, it was like a weekend trip. I think there was yet another dive to do. We did the deep dive in the morning and a shallow dive in the afternoon. And on the way back, I was thinking about it. We're talking about what happened, and thinking, boy, Susie, 100 feet, look at that condo over there. How many stories are in that condo, Susan? She counted. I'm like, oh, that's 10 stories. I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. I'm like, there was that much water under, we had that much water above us. That was that. I never went under the water again. Totally freaked myself out. Now you can drown in 10 feet of water, I suppose, and don't drown. But I then and I had to say to Susie, I'm like, and she was a little disappointed because she really liked it, but I'm like, I wasn't comfortable under that water. And so I didn't do any more diving. So I don't say that this is for everybody. I don't think it's as dangerous as flying or as scuba diving, but it isn't as frivolous as playing around the golf. Now, we equate it to golf to make it fun, but it isn't that. This takes hard-earned money away from you. It can take your time away. It can really, be hard. I understand that. And we bend over backwards during that 3 weeks to share with you the lessons that we've learned and what you can do from a technological standpoint to protect yourself. And then in the end, you have to decide for yourself, is this something I want to do? So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, Dusk is commenting. Yeah, the CME. Yeah, the CME does. They don't do it every quarter. I wish they did, but they don't. They don't. They've only you can check on it. We've entered into the last. Well, this will be the fourth one in 3 years. Now they do have other challenges. I think they're privately run, but for the ones that they sponsor, we've only been aware of 4. All right, here we're at 321. We're going to stay with it right into the close. And that's the other thing is about trading futures. You not only have the leverage, but you also have market access. So we don't have to come out at 4 o'clock or 4:15. We still have the evening session. The public markets, they in options market, you got to make your money when you make your money, and you got to realize that you could be, you could get closed out. Right. We want to be versatile in what we do and versatile in what we can trade as well. 24 trading days in a month. If you take Fridays off, which we like to do, you got 20. $100 a day is $2,000. Can you be happy with that? Now, I had a gentleman call me. Probably not gonna, I told him that he could sign up as a monthly, but I wouldn't accept him as an annual. Very nice guy. But he told me that he wanted to be able to open up an account with the minimum amount of money, and he had never traded futures before, didn't know anything really about futures, really, nothing really that much really, trading. We're trading for the last couple of years. And he thought it would be reasonable to make $100,000 a month getting started. That's not likely, right? That's, so I'm not going to, now he can believe what he wants to believe, and, maybe he can. And then he kind of toned it back down and said, well, but I could, make it 10,000, piece of cake. Okay. I don't want to waste my time. Maybe he can. I wish him the best, but I'm not going to accept, a person that doesn't have a realistic view of what this is and what this is about and the commitment that it takes. And I told him as such, and if he's listening, he might be. And I don't mean any ill. I just wouldn't let him join as an annual member. I suggested he could join as a monthly and get an idea what it's about. It's month to month. It's only $100, and he would learn, and he could do whatever he wants. But we spend a lot of time with each person during the Q School. I want each person to do well. I won't intrude on their life though either. Once they're done with the Q School, we're still available from a technical standpoint, helping, but they have to work on their game. And I don't intrude on their life. We're not running a trading room, do this, do that, and high-fiving and, and filling their heads with a bunch of stuff, but we're available. So in any case, I hope that I gave you some idea. I'm going to shut up now. I got to help Susan set up a small puppy pen. I'm going to be nearby. I'll come in and check for questions. And And that's, that nice thing about being automated, semi-automated, you can still go to the mailbox, you can still go, to the bathroom. I'm not tethered to the machine per se. We're going to have, in fact, I'm going to just make sure that we lock in here. We're going to have at minimum a profitable day and maybe take this trade into the evening session. Um, and let me do that right now. But everyone brings something to their trading, right? You all have your careers and your experiences, and that's great. We learn from that. We learn, and hopefully we become better and better, mentors as well as account of it. Just going to place a stop in here, so we're guaranteed to at minimum make a couple $100 should something drastically change here. Otherwise, we're going to stay with this. And okay, I'm going to step away right here, but we'll let you watch. And we've got a guaranteed, you see the little asterisk after the 3. We get a guaranteed winner in there that would clean up our drawdown from earlier and have a profitable day. But we think it's a really good likelihood that we're going to probably crap out here still. So we're going to try to stay with this trade and deal with it maybe this evening. And but be sure to visit the site. And the point I was going to leave you with is surgery. The what I learned from surgeons and why they're surgeons is they don't wing it, right? I don't know. I mean, that's where they're surgeons. They make very, very small changes. They're extremely precise. They're extremely patient, and they also have nerves of steel. They just do. I spent my life with them. And unfortunately, they're probably many of them are more interested in the market than maybe surgery, but little tongue in cheek there, but they are. So, and that's, we didn't want to build this off of a surgical background. We could have, we talked about it, but although Stock Market Cat is a bit whimsical, we're very serious about what we're doing, right? This is our livelihoods. Good luck, everybody. If you want to sign up for a free podcast any midday at noon, and have an opportunity to ask questions privately and see a lot more about what it is we're doing, you're more than welcome. Just send me an email. Let me know what day works for you, and we'll be publicizing that a little bit more going forward. But and that it would be starting next week, not tomorrow. But and as a new monthly member, you'll get not just a more complete tour where we can actually converse back and forth through live Zoom, but you'll get the opportunity to hang out for an entire day and see, and it can be a day of your choosing, and get a chance to see what that's all about. We make that offer to every monthly member. Some avail themselves of it, some don't, but that is available to you as a monthly member. And with that, we're going to get ready here to close down. We're going to stay with this position short, though. We're going to stay in this trade, and we'll revisit it throughout the evening. And we want to wish you the very best. We like to say that if you're getting it done with whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it. Just keep doing it. I'm not gonna. There's more than one way. We have dozens of ways to trade these markets, and we trade not just futures. We trade stock. We trade options mostly, in different intervals, and there are reasons for that, and we trade them differently. We absolutely do. And our session, the Q School, the monthly memberships are more for the person who is maybe working full time, doesn't have quite the time, and just wants an objective place to go and look for opportunities. And that's what we try to do every night. It isn't me drawing trend lines and opinions and everything. It's just trying to show you what the algos are showing us, and you can kind of pick and choose from there and learn. Now, we can't possibly at that level, give you the education that we give everyone else that goes through the Q School. The Q School is really a forerunner. It doesn't have to be, but it's usually a forerunner for the person that wants to be an annual member, because the annual members, at the conclusion, they have to go through the Q School once. You don't have to become an annual member, but if you do, you'll get, you'll get not just the education, but you get about 65 to 70 programs at this stage, at minimum, to work on your computer. And then you set them up, and you're good to go. And there's no reason why you can't do better than us. And we certainly have had and have folks doing just that. Your success, their success doesn't take anything away from us. We want them to do well. So we're going to say goodbye from here. And at the top of the hour, YouTube will abruptly have to come to a close. But thanks for stopping by. We wish you the best, and reach out.